Well, hello, friends and family. Hello, loved ones and fools and friends and allies, companions, teachers, reflections. How are y'all doing today? I wanted to talk a little bit about Ostara, or the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, and the wheel of the year, and all of the energies and the energetic correspondences and all of the qualities that this turning point of the wheel holds and is available and accessible to us during this portal, during this window of change, during this turning of the wheel. And it's been about 4 years now, I believe, 4 or 5 years, that I've been following, or that I was nudged to just kind of follow this wheel of the year. It's a druidic system, and it celebrates 8 points during the year of like when there's change happening, when there's a turning point, when there's a transition, when there's some kind of a transformation, when we're moving from one point into another point. And I would always been like aware of the solstices and the equinoxes and like how magical those periods of time felt, and how potent they felt for me, but I didn't really quite understand. I mean, I could understand like the changes happening in nature and things, but I didn't realize like the certain significance of like how, if we link like this system to see like what nature's doing, how it can help us integrate certain things within our own lives, within our psyche and our being, to grow and to change and transition, because it's pretty interesting, a reflection, a microcosm, macrocosm. And so it's like linking the above and below and seeing what changes are happening or what changes are occurring, or within this cycle of growth, um, how it does like affect us in our own ways, and through our own cycles, and how we can align with nature's rhythm and match to our own rhythm, for like growth and learning and knowing ourselves, and um, being aware of what like we hold and what we can share, and how we can celebrate and acknowledge like all of these changes and all of these gifts that are available. And so the Eightfold Wheel of the Year, there is 8 Druid festivals, and the beginning is the spring equinox. The beginning of the new year is the spring equinox. And so that is the growing season, or the beginning of the growing cycle, when the sowing begins in earnest. And I just wanted to share like a couple things about the spring equinox and the correspondences and the symbols. And so the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, that's when we're coming into spring. And it's also known as the vernal equinox, which means to bloom. Vernal in Latin means bloom, and then the equinox means equal night. So the day and the night are equal, and yes, the light and the dark are equal. And so it is about like balance and union and reunion. And some of the correspondences of this holiday, and some interesting tidbits that you might not be aware of. I mean, even though anyone can go and look these up, I still think it's like really kind of fun to review every year, like, what it's associated with, what the qualities, and the all of the symbols, can teach us and show us about ourselves and about like our own cycles and about our own fertility and potential. So like this one is huge. It's very, it's a fertility like festival celebrating like the fertility and the abundance and the joy of like coming together and, yeah, becoming whole and being in union together. And so some of the fertility symbols are rabbits and eggs and chicks, daffodils, tulips, baskets, sprouts, lambs, ribbons, butterflies, bees, mother and child, family, and community. And so, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things there, like the rabbit. The rabbit is a very fertile animal, very, very super fecund. And the rabbit can also, yeah, be pregnant with a litter and get pregnant again, and that's how super fertile and potent rabbit is. And so rabbit would be good to look into for like how rabbit corresponds to the lunar cycles, the 28 days, and like, yeah, fertility cycles and things, different things. And of course the egg is like the universal symbol of creation, and like the cosmic egg and the universal egg. And there's all sorts of lore and mythology about the egg. And I'll just read you this little description from my Science and Symbols source book. It's the illustrated Science and Symbols source book, an A to Z compendium by Adele Nosdar. So just in the beginning, we're like general symbols. There's an egg here, and it says egg. The egg is as powerful in its symbolism as it is potent as a life force. The world egg is a ubiquitous symbol for the egg from which the universe is said to have hatched, an idea that appears in creation myths from all parts of the world. The Celts, Hindus, Egyptians, Greeks, Phoenicians, and many more all agree about the idea. The form of this cosmic hatching is variable, though. Often the egg rises from the primeval waters and is incubated by a bird. In Hindu belief, this is the hamsa, a goose. When the egg hatches, the yolk and the white become heaven and earth. The Shinto tradition says that the universe resembled a giant's hen's egg that broke open, with the heavier parts becoming the earth and the lighter the heavens. There is also a theory that the entire universe is contained in a huge egg that stands upright. The egg is a symbol of new life, and this idea is borne out with chocolate eggs at Easter, which in itself is a celebration of the pre-Christian fertility goddess Ostara, who also gives her name to the hormone estrogen. The subsequent celebration of Christ's death and resurrection meant that the egg kept its significance as a symbol of new life and hope. Archaeologists have found clay eggs in Russian burial sites, reinforcing the belief in the egg as a symbol of immortality and rebirth. In alchemy, the philosopher's egg symbolizes the seed of spiritual life and depicts the place wherein a great transformation takes place. The ancient riddle of what came first, chicken or the egg, was deftly, if disappointingly, answered by Angelus Silius, who said the chicken was in the egg and the egg was in the chicken. And it's funny, that song had popped in my head like a couple days ago. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? And I was just being silly, and my husband like had also he'd been like kind of having that, and so we just had like a funny conversation about that. Kind of talked about what do you think, what came first? It's like the egg came first. But it's just kind of fun to look at those things. The egg was in the chicken and the chicken was in the egg. And so that's, yeah, it's kind of an awesome microcosm, macrocosm, sync, wink there. But yes, the Germanic pagans, they celebrated Ostara, but the Druids did not. They celebrated the spring equinox. And so, yeah, it does have correspondences to Easter, and like how Easter is celebrated in certain ways and how it's calculated. So it would be after the first full moon, after the equinox. Yeah, that's how they calculate like when like Easter will be. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. Some of the deities that are associated with this holiday, of course, are Ostara or Istra, Aphrodite, Athena, Sybil, Gaia, Isis, Iris, Mary, Persephone, Venus, maiden goddesses, fertility goddesses, warrior goddesses. And then some of the gods are Pan, Cernunnos, Green Man, Adonis, Mars, Osiris, and Thoth. And also there's a Celtic goddess, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but I think it looks like it's Bludowed. And then the flower women and Aurora. And of course, yes, like Christians celebrate Easter as for Jesus and his resurrection. Yeah, the crucifixion and the resurrection. So it is like a life, death, life. And life, death, and life after death. Rebirth and renewal. Resurrection. Some of the animals and allies and friends and companions that are associated with this, of course, are just the rabbit, like I mentioned, rabbits and snakes. And a snake is another symbol that's been coming up a lot for me. And I'll share a little bit about snake in a minute. So unicorns and dragons and robins. Robins are the heralders of spring. Lambs and the phoenix, chicks. And then also, like, this is a great holiday to connect with the fae and the elementals and the spirits of the land. And some of the magic and the energetic correspondences and qualities. Love, fertility, wealth, prosperity, abundance, innocence, dawn, creativity, inspiration, balance, union, rebirth, and renewal. Communion, alchemy, the quickening, miracles of life. Cauldron, fires, water, earth, and air. So the 4 is a big one too at this time. So some of the traditional foods for this Sabbath or holy day and holiday: hard-boiled eggs, because the symbolism of the egg, deviled eggs, honey cakes, anything dairy, because it represents like the milk and of all the lactating animals and the new life that's been born, the baby animals as well. So there's leafy green vegetables, because it's starting to green, like the greening. There's flower dishes, because the flowers are appearing, so edible flowers, and sprouts and fish, hot cross buns, sweet bread, chocolate. Chocolate's an aphrodisiac. It's all about like sensuality and fertility and sexuality and fecundity. Jelly beans, lemonade, and fresh fruit. So fresh fruit and local produce, local seasonal produce. And some of the herbs are acorn, celandine, crocus, daffodil, dogwood, Easter lily, ginger, hyssop, linden, honeysuckle, iris, jasmine, narcissus, peony, rose, violets, woodruff, forsythia, spring flowers, clover, vervain, broom, chives, white clover, nettle, and dandelion. And so, with some of the food and drink, I thought the hot cross buns thing was kind of cool, because it actually splits the circle into four parts, and that represents like the 4 seasons, the 4 directions, the 4 winds. Like there's all sorts of different things that the 4 can tell us, or the 4 helps us order in certain ways. So in these holidays, the equinoxes and the solstices, I believe they're known as the quarter days, or the quarter holidays. There's the 4 quarter holidays, and there's the 4 cross quarter holidays, and I could have them reversed or mixed up, but yes, the other cross quarter holidays are Imbolc, Beltane, Samhain, and I forgot, Lughnasadh. Yeah, so those are the other 4. And so there's 8 of these holidays within the year. So they happen every 6 weeks. And yes, during that time, like there's certain things at play and certain energies that are working for us for and through those creation cycles that are accessible. And yeah, looking at the symbols and things, you can see how they relate or associate to the energies that are working together, to continue like these cycles of creation. And so the crystals that are associated with this holiday, those are also known as the flowers of the underworld, are amethyst, aquamarine, rose quartz, moonstone, bloodstone, and red jasper. And so it was known to the Druids as Alban Eler, which I'm probably mispronouncing that as well, but that means the light of the earth. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I do have a couple more things to share about spring equinox and like some of the other ways that it's celebrated in different parts of the world and in different traditions. So, like I said before, Ostara was celebrated by the Germanic pagans, and it's all about new beginnings. And the Persian kings, also known as the Achaemenians, celebrated something called Nowruz, which means new day, and it's all about hope and renewal, and that is a 13-day festival. And Easter, so taken from Latin, its origins of Latin, it can be interpreted a new dawn or East dawn. And there's also a legend and tradition of Mithras, saying that he was born on the winter solstice and he dies and is resurrected on the spring equinox. And so that is like the sun god that dies and then is born again. So yeah, the end and the beginning, and death, life, and rebirth. Yes. So it is a time of celebrating the balance of light and dark, renewal, rebirth, resurrections, new beginning, magic, fertility, balance, youth, new life, creativity, blessings, thanks, praise, demonstrations, warmth, reunion, awakening, and manifestation. It's a time to acknowledge the natural cycles, acknowledging the feminine cycles, the lunar cycles, fertility cycles, and creation cycles. It's the beginning of the planting or growing season, or a new growth cycle. And there is new growth where nothing once grew. That's the potential. The power behind physically energizing our goals, the power of creation, and the power behind the union of balance. And this is a time to bless our seeds and plant our seeds and our seeds of intention. It's time for new projects, creativity and inspiration, self-expression. It can be a time for enjoying like all the magic of the new colors coming in after like a long gray winter. It's really cool to see all the colors and emerging in the light of the earth, like awakening. And so like there's the magical egg dyeing, like the colorful eggs, the decorating and the painting, the art, the spell paper creations was a tradition, nature walks, and blessing and praising and connecting with the spirits of the land, celebrating the earth, celebrating the goddess, celebrating fertility and life, prosperity and the potential, celebrating sensuality and pleasure and desire, while the light is increasing, and creative power, love, beauty, and growth opening up. And so the colors that are associated with this time of year are pastel colors. Also, pastel green, yellow, and pink, and gold and grass green and robin egg blue and red. And so all of those have, different energies associated with them, all those colors. But it does make me think of like, yeah, new life and rebirth and like just innocence and youth. And so just a couple things that I wrote down about. Yeah, some ideas. So yeah, do a little bit of gardening, clean out the garden, or do some spring cleaning, do a planting ritual, do an abundance meditation and fertility blessings. Share your intentions and look for like, or ask for visions and solutions. And yeah, feel the joy about what we're really grateful for and engage in joyful celebration and active imagination and manifestation. So like maybe make some vision boards or create something new. Create something new and true and ask for inspiration and use your imagination. So it's time for nourishment, to nourish ourselves and nurture ourselves, nourish the new life within us, to be present and to attend to what needs caring for. It's also an awesome time to watch our words, the words that we speak, and to speak true words and words that are aligned with what we want to create. So mantras and affirmations, and a good time for focus and invocation, because there are activations and fertilizations happening. The seeds are being fertilized and activated by the solar light, and yeah, by the light of our hearts, through our hearts, the light of our hearts. So it's the time of the snake, and that's kind of interesting as well. That represents like the Kundalini and the union of Shiva and Shakti, the ascent and the descent, the union and balance. So equal, and the scales coming into balance and alignment. And so it's balance, union, penetration, reception, and conception. Let's look at our agreements and our commitments and see if we can look into certain patterns in our relationships. There's the life, sex, death, rebirth, regeneration, divine creation cycles, and the keys, laws, codes, the creator and the created. So blossom and bloom, letting go and allowing the process to unfold. It's about home and homecoming and coming home to ourselves, the grail and the self, the renewer and the force, the life force, creative force. And yeah, look, different mythology and the qualities of rabbit, rabbit and the egg. And why do we have like those interesting traditions where the Easter rabbit brings eggs? When, like, how did that come to be? And so I was reading like different things and looking into some things. And so there's the rabbit makes its nests in the ground. And then after it's young or like a little bit grown up, it'll move its nest and it abandons its nest. And so there's these type of birds called plovers who would use the rabbit's nest as their own, and then they would lay eggs in it. And so I think, that's part of the reason where our lore came from with the Easter Bunny. And also in Germany, I think in the 16th century, it was mentioned in a children's book or in some kind of publication that well-behaved children would get a visit from a bunny that brought them eggs. And so just, that's kind of funny and interesting and silly. And there's also some lore and mythology that's interesting, encourage you to look into, about the serpent and the egg. Also, like the apple and the fruit tree, the tree of gnosis and karmic seeds, water and life, renewed, in me, thee, we and she, in and through me, thee, we and she. The sweet nectar and love juice, innocence, freedom, and unself-consciousness being present now. Allow. And blessings. So bless me, Father, for I have been great and full, radical self-love and acceptance. Wholeness and inner truth. So that's just some of the fun things about spring equinox. And it's a time to celebrate the ability to create, to manifest, to love, and gain a deeper understanding of life. Yeah, life. And through our experience, wisdom gained through our own experience. New life, new love, new light, potential and possibilities, the goddess and the god in union, the dark and the light. So I love that. So there's a lot of symbols that symbolize and represent balance and union and of the dark and the light. Yeah, there's so many. So yeah, maybe you can explore some of those and be curious and learn more. And so I'm just going to share one more thing about the snake. Snake has been coming up a lot the last couple weeks, and that's because she's an ally in my alchemy practice and helping me to transform the poison and transmute it into nectar. And some of the qualities about snake I'm going to share. So snake is the connection to the Great Spirit and rebirth, resurrection, initiation, and wisdom, transitions, transformation, healing, and transmutation, alchemy, and change, sexuality, creativity, primal energy, kundalini, activations, opening to new dimensions and levels of awareness, health and creative energies, mysticism, compassion, clairvoyance, charm, inner sight, learning lessons of forgiveness, the ability to experience without resistance, understanding new perspectives, shamanic journeys, death and rebirth cycles, knowledge and higher learning, discrimination and sensitivity, spiritual idealism, and intuition. Also can symbolize leadership and the guardian and the messenger, creation, sexuality, reproduction, psychic energy, ascension, immortality, fire, passion, vitality, desire, procreation, wholeness, and cosmic consciousness. So I thought that was pretty cool about the snake. And one more thing to share about springtime from In the House of the Moon by Jason Elias and Catherine Ketchum. Okay, so it's known, this time is known as the early childhood of our lives. If we break up the wheel of the year and we see ourselves within it, we can see like the life, death, birth cycles, the life, death, and rebirth cycles. So as an infant to a child to a young woman or a young adult to womanhood and beyond. So this part of the season is about our early childhood. And so it's called Spring from Child to Woman. The passage from child to woman, marked by the onset of menstruation, is the first and the most important metamorphosis in the female life cycle. This is the season of spring when the earth enfolds the swelling seed within its ample breast and the seedling sleeps, nourished by the mother. Swirling above, unheard and unfelt, gentle winds caress earth's frozen surface and the melting begins. Leafless trees shudder as the warming sap flows upward and outward, filling the veined limbs with the fluid of life. As the warmth penetrates deep into the earth, the seedling stirs, sending forth slender snake-like shoots to grab hold of the soil and drink from its inexhaustible springs. Strengthened and renewed, the greening stem pushes upward, bending around obstacles, yielding, adapting, doing everything within its power to follow the compelling impulses of mysterious inner forces. At last it bursts forth, opening up to embrace the luminous light of the newly awakened world. Sweet spring, when the air goes soft, the wind gentles down, and fragrant flowers carpet the earth, is the season when a child becomes a woman, experiencing, in the poet Dylan Thomas's words, the force that through the green fuse drives the flower. With her first blood, the child woman enters a mysterious new world. As the rich red blood pools up within her, Building in power until it overflows, she experiences with throbbing intensity the ebb and flow of Earth's cyclical rhythms. Her joy is edged with pain and her celebration with grief, for with the shedding of her blood she leaves behind a stage of life when she was cradled and nurtured by the mother. Her first blood signals that it is time to stand alone and begin the challenging process of discovering who she is and what she is yet to become. For many months, the child woman will live in a world precariously balanced between the carefree, joy-filled days of childhood and the challenges and deeper wisdom of womanhood. Her roots are buried deep within the mother, drawing from the core. She feels Earth's fire rising up within her, charging her blood with passionate energy and intuitive wisdom. The phases of the moon guide her spirit as she comes to know the moon cycles. She gathers wisdom about herself. Each month, she follows the moon's lead, learning from its waxing and waning how to concentrate her energies and refine her spirit. The waning moon tells her to turn inward and to take time to reflect, remember, and dream. As the moon fills with light, she begins to feel restless, for this is the time to move outward into the world, transforming the energy gained during rest and reflection into creative work. When the moon begins to empty itself of light, she knows the time has come to discharge her energy in preparation for the new moon, when she will feel once again the pulling inward toward the dark, mysterious powers that open her soul to wisdom and healing. A woman's monthly bleeding symbolizes the power of renewal and the mysterious ongoing cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Blood is power. In many Native American cultures, a menstruating woman is considered even more powerful than the medicine men and warriors. The Lakota tribe would not permit a menstruating woman near a medicine man or a psychic healer because they believed that her blood endowed her with such intense, concentrated energy that her mere presence interfered with the healer's skills. The Crows forbid women who are menstruating to venture into the same vicinity as wounded men or warriors preparing for battle because they feared that her powers would weaken the men's physical and spiritual strength. In other cultures, the life and death-giving potential of menstrual blood sometimes became a source of contention between men and women, as a popular Chinese myth illustrates. The goddess Changzhou. The goddess Changzhou guards the menstrual blood. When Changzhou lived on Earth, men attacked her. They envied her bleeding, for it meant that she possessed the power of life, death, and rebirth, and these were the mysteries to them. She became so angry at the men's jealous attacks that she withdrew to the moon and forbade men to take part in her festivals from that time on. So it came to be in China that the women celebrate full moon festivals only among themselves, with songs and praise to honor women. Chang'o and menstrual blood, the blood of life and death. As time passed, the feminine spirit of healing lost power and influence, and the blood of life and death came to be cursed rather than praised. Today, we no longer honor the female monthly cycle as a time of special powers and privileges, when a woman is most sensitive to the rhythms and cycles of the natural world. We have lost a sense of the healing power of women's blood and accepted a different interpretation of the monthly cycle, which emphasizes pollution rather than cleansing, death and decay rather than renewal and regeneration. Through the centuries and diverse religious codes, philosophical dicta, and cultural traditions, menstrual blood has been reinterpreted as unclean and invested with fearsome, repulsive energy. The polluting nature of female blood is clearly stated in the Bible in Leviticus 15:19-30. It is proposed that anyone who touches a menstruating woman is contaminated, and that animal sacrifices should be offered as penance and atonement for the female's bloody sin. Yeah. And then in 65 AD, the Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder described the fearful powers of the monthly flux, which he claimed could destroy crops, kill insects, and poison animals. And Jewish scholars warn in the Talmud that a menstruating woman can kill a man by her mere presence. In the Eastern European Jewish tradition, when a young woman menstruates for the first time, her mother slaps her hard on the face, hoping to impress upon her daughter with the grim importance of the occasion. Yeah. In our modern sanitized society, menstruation is viewed as bothersome and an embarrassing nuisance that is best camouflaged with deodorized pads and strong douches. Tampons stem the tidal flow, pushing the blood back inside where it can be ignored and even forgotten. Young women are not taught how to celebrate the dark mysteries evoked by their menstrual blood without the proper initiations. They come to believe that they are cursed rather than blessed with the blood. The old ways in which women intuitively understood that the physical changes in their bodies signaled a time to retreat inward and reflect on their emotional and spiritual needs seem archaic and antiquated. Taking time to sit still and pay attention, listening to the rhythms of the earth and exploring the varying energies of the moon strikes the modern mind as silly and self-indulgent. Many middle-aged women, the mothers of adolescents today, grew up with messages like this from a 1963 insert in a Tampax box. Yeah. When you're a wife, don't take advantage of your husband. That's an old rule of good marriage behavior that's just as sensible now as it ever was. Of course, he'll not try to take advantage, but sometimes ways of taking advantage aren't obvious. You wouldn't connect it with menstruation, for instance. Yet if you neglect the simple rules that make menstruation a normal time of the month and retire for a few days each month as though you're ill, you're taking advantage of your husband's good nature. He married a full-time wife, not a part-time one, so you should be active, peppy, and cheerful every day. Don't take advantage. Menstruation is normal. Be active, peppy, and cheerful. Gently but firmly, women are reminded of their duty at this time of month. Stuff it. Stuff the blood back inside. Stuff the wild, fluctuating emotions away where they won't have a negative impact on others. Stuff the power and the dark mysteries and pretend that everything is normal and nothing has changed. Change itself is given a negative cast, for every day should be the same. Day after day after day after day. Forcing yourself to be active, peppy, and cheerful is a full-time activity. Contrast the modern interpretation of menstruation with the traditions practiced by the Yurok tribe of Northern California. A menstruating woman should isolate herself because this is the time when she is at the height of her powers. Thus, the time should not be wasted in mundane tasks and social distractions, nor should one's concentration be broken by concerns with the opposite sex. Rather, all of one's energy should be applied in concentrated meditation to find out the purpose of your life and toward the accumulation of spiritual energy. The menstrual shelter or room is like the men's sweat house, a place where you go into yourself and make yourself stronger. The blood that flows serves to purify the woman preparing for her spiritual accomplishment. And so, menstrual blood is a symbol of life, death, rebirth cycle in which dissolution and decay are inevitably followed by renewal and regeneration. Every month when a woman bleeds, she is given the opportunity to shed her inner skin and in the process renew and revive her spirit. By letting go of the old, she is able to embrace the new. As the lining of her uterus builds up and sloughs off, she is in touch with the possibility of birth, the reality of death, and the ever-changing nature of life. If a young woman is not guided to a deeper understanding of her monthly cycle and the power of her blood, she may learn to fear and detest this seemingly pointless and interminable cycle. Linking blood with pain and physical discomfort, she may lose a sense of the healing properties of menstrual blood. Imagining her blood as foul and offensive, she dreads its inevitable arrival. Having no knowledge of the moon's phases as they work in concert with her own, she will miss this opportunity to develop a sense of kinship with the natural world. Healing comes through knowledge, for women can be taught how to alter the nature of their experience by changing what that experience means to them. When an adolescent learns to view her menstrual blood as purifying, the experience of menstruation can be honored as a cleansing ritual of renewal. When she perceives her blood as powerful and life-giving, she will feel the pride of being a woman who bleeds. When her symptoms of pain and discomfort are reinterpreted as predictable fluctuations in the pulse of power, her monthly cycle becomes a special time to focus inward in order to direct her energies in creative, life-sustaining ways. So I affirm that, and I agree. So hear, hear, and cheers. To our power of fertility. And I'll just end it there with that from the In the House of the Moon. I wasn't planning on reading all of that, but it just felt right, so I kept going. So a lot of it does relate, and it is interesting what we've been taught to believe about ourselves and our own power and our own ability to create. And so let's look at some of those old beliefs and imprinted or implanted or inherited beliefs about our own abilities to create and our own, the power that we have and our own abilities that we have. to connect and access those energies that are available and that are right and that purify. And so, yeah, there is a whole lot about that. Yeah, purification and the inner fire. And I was just, yeah, looking at those things actually that I didn't feel like they related at all in certain ways, but it's kind of funny. So snake medicine, transmuting the poison into nectar, transforming the venom into the antidote. The same force that liberates and heals is the same force that binds and conceals. And love is the revitalizing force. And yeah, I've been working on forgiveness this week, working through forgiveness, different layers of forgiveness, and looking at different things where I can forgive myself and I can forgive others, and I can forgive like the pain and the suffering, and I can forgive myself and others for not knowing, and release all of it and give it back. And there was, some things I have been working through, and it definitely is like an old shedding of skin. And so, yeah, call on snake medicine. Thank you, snake medicine. Sometimes it is like really heavy magic to work with and allow and let go of resistance. Yeah, let go of resistance. And so, yeah, it is an awesome time for celebration and anticipation and inspiration, because what is possible, and all the potential, and all that wants to be created, and all that wants to live, and just celebrating that and finding that within, and yeah, honoring those desires, and honoring that cycle, honoring that power, honoring what's within, and bringing it forth into the world. And for new life, renewal, hope, and purification. And so, yeah, we're going to have our spring equinox on the 20th, and we're in that window now to observe and acknowledge like all of these energies that are available and coming into being and being manifested, and stirring, awakening, rising now. So it is an exciting time, and it can feel like the energy like that does want to rise and wants to be born, and the changes that are like in motion and occurring and in transition now. So happy spring, and happy Ostara celebrations and observations and acknowledgments and rituals and renewal and hope for all of this new that we're bringing in and forth through our own being. So what are your intentions, and what can you focus your attention on, and what do we get to let go of or release to recycle and compost, to fertilize and nourish the new. Yeah. So love y'all, and be well and be true. Be love for you. All right. See you later.